Hi, thanks for watching this video. My name's Rakesh and we're going to look at how to execute a file within the Python interpreter. Before we begin, I just want to try and simplify what we're actually doing. Executing a file basically means running your code or script, and it doesn't really matter how much or little Python coding experience you have. You probably already realize how important it is to test your code just to make sure it does what you want it to do and it works as you planned. The Python interpreter is what translates the code you've written into something your computer understands. So really, in the simplest terms, what we're looking at are ways you can run the code you've written in Python on your computer. So now we know what we're doing. As a first step, let's write some basic code that we can test. Just as a note, I'm using a Windows 10 machine and I'm running Python version 3.8.6. I use Atom to write my code, but that's just really my personal preference. So let me open a new file in Atom, and we're just going to do a basic print statement. Ooh. Hello, my name is Rakesh and I am a Python developer. Okay, so I've got a basic print statement, and I'm just going to save that as a Python file. So I need to give it a .py extension, and what Atom will do is it will just format it a bit for me. So .py is the Python extension. I'm just going to make a note of where I'm saving it. So I'm saving it on my PC in the documents file. Okay, so save, and there you go. It's just a nicely coloured for me, so I know it's a Python file. So I've got my script now, and so we're going to basically look at different ways we can run that print statement on this computer. There are two main methods of running the code. We can either use the command line or we can run it interactively through the Python shell, and each one of these methods has some variations to it. I'm going to start with the command line because for me it's really the simplest way of running and testing my code, and while there's some variations to the actual syntax, the principle is really straightforward. We're going to invoke a Python interpreter and then we're going to point it to the file and it will run it. So let me open my my command prompt that we have. So the first thing I need to do is just go to navigate to the directory that my file's in, to where the testscript.py file is, which was in my documents directory. So go to documents. Okay, so now we're going to invoke the Python interpreter, which we can do just by simply typing in the word Python. Now, if you have different versions of Python on your machine, if for example you're running version 2.x.x and 3.x.x and you want to specify Python 3, version 3, if you type in 3, that will specify version 3 for you. But I'm only using one version here, so I don't need to do that. So I'm just going to invoke Python by typing in Python, and I'm going to point it to my file, which is testscript.py. I'm in the documents directory, so if I press enter, there you go, that's executed. Hello, my name is Rakesh, I'm a Python developer. Really straightforward, really simple, and makes sense. Now, if you're running Windows, if you have a Windows machine, there are some other variations that will also work. When you install Python on Windows, it actually comes with its own launch utility, which is called py. So I can invoke the launcher, I can run the launcher just by typing in py and then my file. And that runs the script perfectly well as well. And then finally, on the newer versions of Windows, and again I'm using Windows version 10 here, Windows actually knows it's a Python file by virtue of this extension. So the .py extension tells Windows it's a Python file, so I don't actually have to invoke any Python interpreter at all, because it will know. So I just have to type the file name, testscript.py, nothing before it. There you go. Hello, my name is Rakesh and I am a Python developer. So those are really straightforward, and those are basically the ways of running your script, testing your script using the command line. But there may be times when it's not practical to do it that way, so you might want to run your scripts, test them interactively through the Python shell. So we can look at those now, and the first thing we need to do is actually open a Python interactive shell, and we do that just by typing in the keyword Python. And again, I'm just making sure I'm in my documents directory, so I'm in the right place. Type in Python, and there you go. I know I'm in a Python interactive shell because of these three chevrons here. Those tell me that I'm running Python in the interactive shell, so I'm good to go. So now let's look at the ways that we can now run our script using this. And the first thing we're going to do is use import. Now, if you have used Python before, you probably have used the import function when you're importing scripts or importing libraries to use later within your code. For example, import pandas, import numpy, import datetime. That's the primary use of the import function. But what it actually does, what's interesting about that, is the way Python works is that when it imports, it will actually run the module and it will execute any code that's contained in that as part of this process. So we would only notice this with import when there's actually some physical output being generated. So when there's something physically that's going to happen, and print statement is a great example of that because it's the perfect example of physical output. So if I just import my script, import test script, as a module, so it's not .py, no .py there, I'm just importing test script. It runs. There you go. Hello, my name is Rakesh and I'm a Python developer. Two things to note about this. First of all, again, this only works because we have this output, this physical output. We have something that can be generated. It's a print statement. And the second thing is it will only work once. The way this works is that when it imports the test script module and it will execute the code. But if I try to do it again, the code has already been executed, so it won't work. It won't do it again. It won't give me my print statement. So it will only work once. Okay, so that's using import. Next, we're going to look at using the Python standard library, and in particular, two modules in particular. We're going to use importlib and runpy. I'm going to go through these. We're going to show you these, but I have to say these are really my least favorite ways of running on testing script because I think they overcomplicate things. And for me, the great thing about Python is its simplicity. And these things do not make it simple, as I hope you will see as we run through these. Now let's start off with importlib. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to exit this shell because I've already imported my test script, so I can't do anything again with it. So I'm just going to exit and start a new Python shell. Okay, so the first thing I have to do is import lib. Let me just bring this up a bit so it's all seeable. So I'm going to import lib as the module, and now I'm going to use import lib to import the test script file, but again I'm importing this as a module, so there's no file extension. I'm using these little speech quotations here to say it's a module, so I'm importing the test script, but I'm importing it as a module. There you go. Hello, my name is Rakesh and I am a Python developer. Again, this has worked, and that's great, but because I'm importing as a module, I have the same drawback in that it's executed this code, but if I try to do it again, it won't work. The only way I can do that again using importlib, the import module, is if I exit the interactive shell and start a new interactive shell. Now there is a way we can use importlib to run code over and over again, and that's using the reload function. But as the name suggests, we're not importing the module again, we're simply reloading it. So let's have a look at that. So again, I'm going to start a new interactive shell. Just come down so you can see it properly. I'm going to import my test script as a module. There you go. And just to clarify, if I try doing that again, it doesn't work. So let me import the importlib module. And now we're going to do importlib .reload. And we're going to reload this test script. Now, hopefully what you've noticed here is that I haven't got the quotation marks over here. I've got little speech marks, the quotation marks, because I'm not importing the module. I'm reloading something the module that's already been imported. I've imported it, and now I'm just going to reload it. Hopefully this will work. There you go. Hello, my name's Rakesh and I'm a Python developer, and I can do that over and over again. There's no, it doesn't work only once because we're basically reloading an already imported module. Hopefully that made some sense. It does work. It's not the most straightforward way of doing things, but it definitely works. Okay, so that's the import lib. The second standard library module we're going to look at is runpy. This works slightly differently, and it doesn't actually import the module at all. What it does, it locates the Python file and it will run it. In theory, this sounds great. When I looked at this, I thought this is exactly what we need to do, but unfortunately, it's not that straightforward, as I hope you'll see. So again, I'm going to exit this Python shell and just start a new one. And we're going to start by importing the module runpy. And the first way, two ways of doing this. We can use the module itself to run it. So we use the module name, or we can use the module location. So let's look at using the module name first of all. So I've imported runpy, and now we basically want to run our script. So I'm going to run it as a module, and the module name is test script. And again, we're using the quotation marks because it's a module we're trying to run here. So when I press enter, let's see what happens. Okay, we're back at these three chevrons. So I'm in the Python interactive shell, but I obviously can't see my script. And when I first tried this, I actually thought it didn't work. I thought I'd made a mistake somewhere because I couldn't figure out what's happened. And if we go back up here, past all this code here, we can see, yeah, okay. So we imported runpy and we ran the module test script, and it did actually work. There you go. Hello, my name is Rakesh and I'm a Python developer. But what it does is it actually prints out the entire globals dictionary of the module when it executes the code. So I have all of this dictionary information here, which gets run every time I use this function. It's not the most useful, as I hope you can see. So that was using runpy as a module. The other way is to actually specify the file location and using it. Again, I'm going to exit the shell just to avoid any confusion. Run it again. So let's import runpy. And this time we're going to we're going to run it based on the file location. So we're just going to tell it where it is, so the file name. And again, just to clarify, I'm using the file name here because we're not running a module. Sorry, we're not importing anything. It's runpy. We're not running a module. We're telling it to run a file. So we're giving it the file name. And again, okay, I'm back to these three chevrons. So let's have a look. Here we go. Yeah. So I've imported runpy. Runpy.run. Given it the file name where it is testscript.py, and it's executed. Hello, my name is Rakesh and I am a Python developer. But what it has also done is it has again printed out the entire globals dictionary of the module. So I have all of this every time I want to run that file. So as you can see, runpy and the import lib, they do work. They do what they do execute the code for me, but just by virtue of the fact that it's printing out the global dictionary every time I use it, I think runpy is just not suitable for it, for executing code. So let's look at the final one, which is the exec function. And when I first saw this, I thought this is actually the best way of doing this because it made sense to me. And again, it's going to be using the interactive shell. So I'm just going to avoid any issues by just starting another shell. And as I'm typing the syntax, hopefully you'll see what I see, which is having looked at all the other modules like the runpy and the import lib, this one actually seems to make sense to me. So what we're doing is we're telling it to open a file and then read it. Okay, and then finally execute it. Open test script, read test script, executes test script. Hopefully that will work. Yeah, there you go. Hello, my name's Rakesh and I am a Python developer. This for me is the most logical way of using it, running my scripts interactively. The syntax makes sense and I can run it again and again and again, and there's no issues there. So when I saw this and I tried it, I thought this is great. This is actually makes sense, and this is a logical way of doing it. And sites like Stack Overflow, they highlight this as a good way of testing or executing your files or executing your scripts. But other things I've read seem to indicate that it's actually a method of last resort. They consider it to be slow, unpredictable, and can be open to some security issues. So maybe a bit of caution is needed when using the exec function, just because it would depend on the type of code you're running, what you're trying to do. If there's any sensitive data or information there, you might just want to take care of that. So we've looked at ways of executing our files. We've looked at using the command line and using the Python interactive shell. I hope you found it useful. And we've seen a few ways, and for me that makes sense because Python's a very versatile language, so it tends to give you different options of getting something done. And in terms of recommendations, what's the best thing to do? I guess it really depends on a number of factors. It depends on the version of Python you're using. It depends on the complexity of the code or the script that you're trying to run and what you're trying to do. And finally, it really depends on your personal preference. Go through them, try them out, and see which one you prefer. But I hope you found the video useful, and thank you for watching.